I stand before you here today to talk about a continent that is bubbling with hope, vigor, and promise. And the name of this continent is called Africa, the cradle of humankind. In doing so, I wish to propose South Africa both as a case study and a gateway into Africa's economy, the country which Dr. Nelson Mandela led as its first democratically elected president in 1994. Ladies and gentlemen, after having defeated the political system of apartheid, Dr. Mandela's democratic government created and mandated the National Empowerment Fund to grow Black participation in South Africa's national economy. In aid of this pursuit, Parliament passed the Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment Act of 2003, also known as the Broad-Based BEE Act, to guide the process of crafting a growing, inclusive, and employment-generating economy. It is this mandate, therefore, that has brought us here today, not to ask for aid, no, but instead to solicit your partnership for mutual benefit as we industrialize our continent. According to a recent study by PricewaterhouseCoopers entitled World and Africa 2020 and Beyond, Africa has immense opportunities for potential investors. Africa's GDP is estimated at about $1.6 trillion US, with consumer spending estimated at around $860 billion US. According to this research, Africa will have the largest working age population by 2035, which translates into phenomenal opportunities for investors. Added to this vigor is Africa's ability to constantly renew itself, as recently demonstrated when the African Union Commission elected its first woman chairman ever, when Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, who is acknowledged by many as a dynamic, credible, and a reputable leader, one who is also a technocrat, a diplomat, and a visionary. Clearly, ladies and gentlemen, Africa's outlook can only be optimistic. South Africa has a range of dynamic developmental plans to realize economic growth, offering potentially lucrative value and opportunities for international investors who are willing to become partners in a country that is uniquely positioned as a gateway into the rest of the continent. South Africa is one of the most sophisticated and promising emerging markets globally. The unique combination of a highly developed first world economic infrastructure and a huge emergent market economy has given rise to a strong entrepreneurial and dynamic investment environment, which is enhanced through the opportunities that Black economic empowerment presents to foreign investors. Given its mandate, which is to grow Black economic empowerment in South Africa, the National Empowerment Fund is an ideal port of entry for foreign direct investment. Distinguished guests, the NEF is here today in order to invite foreign direct investment to South Africa in strategic investments valued at more than 30 billion rands, which is equivalent to about $4 billion US. Distinguished guests, in order to give effect to President Jacob Zuma's injunction regarding the need for the country to maximize job creation, very solid work has gained momentum in the NEF Strategic Projects Fund, a unit of the National Empowerment Fund established with a mandate to increase the participation of Black people in early-stage projects that are aligned to national government policy. And we want the Black entrepreneurs in South Africa to do this in partnership with other foreign direct investors. The SPF and the National Empowerment Fund were created to seek competitive opportunity for the South African economy and the inclusion of Black participation in opportunities at the outset of projects, as opposed to doing so during equity closure. In this area of work, which holds out lucrative opportunities for foreign direct investors, the NEF has approved, the NEF has approved 15 transactions for feasibility studies with a further 5 projects in the pipeline. The time required until full closure of the projects is between 1 to 3 years and will create between 150,000 to 200,000 new decent jobs. This is a clear demonstration of the NEF's commitment to the President's action plan around job creation. SPF and the National Empowerment Fund use a sector-targeted approach in developing its portfolio, and these include tourism, mining, minerals beneficiation, agri-processing, renewable energy, nuclear energy, BPOs, and the infrastructural projects. Some of these exciting opportunities for investment and growth, to which we would like to invite your partnership, will be described to you in detail here. These are also described in great detail in a publication that will be distributed today at this summit. And if I may talk about the first project, which is in the minerals beneficiation space, a project valued at $2.1 billion US. The rare metals industries is an investment by a select group of venture capital investors collaborating in the building of the world's first integrated specialty metals beneficiation complex. This will produce high-value industrial metals, namely pure titanium, zirconium, hafnium, and silicon. The beneficiation complex is expected to be built at a cost of approximately $2.1 billion US. Currently, South Africa is the world's second largest producer of titanium slag, but manufactures no titanium metal or titanium components. And ladies and gentlemen, as you may be already aware, titanium as a rare metal is difficult and expensive to produce, but faces strong demand growth and is used mainly in high-tech industries like your aerospace industry, your automotive sector, nuclear and chemical processes. In the South African context, specialist metals, minerals such as iron ore, copper, cobalt, chrome, and PGMs are mined locally and shipped to international markets primarily in raw form. Multinationals further beneficiate the minerals and in certain instances produce finished goods such as super alloys and sell them back to global markets, including South Africa, at increased and inflated prices. The envisaged plants at full operational capacity will produce 5,000 tons of titanium, 2,000 tons of zirconium, 8,000 tons of silicon, and 50,000 tons of magnesium, and will generate an annual revenue in excess of $2 billion US. The plant will enable South Africa to create downstream beneficiation clusters. The second project, which is again in the mineral beneficiation space, is a project valued at $250 million US. To date, SA Metals has spent about $6.5 million US studying the bankable feasibility of setting up a mine dump processing plant that will be substantially Black-owned, but we're looking at foreign direct investors to come and partner with some of our Black entrepreneurs in this plant. We're pleased to recount that the NEF provided funding for the bankable feasibility study. As delegates are aware, the 3 largest producing countries of pig iron, mainly China, Japan, and USA, jointly account for about 50% of global production, and their respective demand exceeds internal production. To meet with internal demand, China, the largest producer of pig iron and the main ingredient of steel, increased their production from 222,000 metric tons in 2003 to 489 metric tons in 2007. In 2006, South Africa exported 540,000 tons of pig iron. This project can add a further 500,000 tons, which could double the export potential of pig iron from South Africa. What makes this project even more exciting is that it will not only impact on South African iron ore reserves, but rather also increase South Africa's life of mines, as it will recover more minerals from calcine dams that have historically been treated as overburden or waste tailings. Over the next few years, both supply and demand should increase. Both the demand and production capacity for iron will have grown significantly. South Africa is ranked 9th in the world in terms of reserve base of iron ore and 5th in terms of production of iron ore. The next project is in infrastructure development, and more specifically in the healthcare sector. This is a project that is valued at $168 million. South Africa's healthcare sector is dominated primarily by 3 large groups who control more than 75% of total market share, while the balance is largely fragmented. Busa Holdings intends to be the first black-owned hospital group to compete with the big 3. The vision is to be a consolidator of a very fragmented healthcare market. This will be kick-started with the commercialization of four hospital licenses amounting to 500 hospital beds, spread over 3 provinces, namely Gauteng, Western Cape, and the Free State. With the first being in Gauteng, this hospital will be a world-class orthopedic and sports medicine center, and in fact, the construction of the first phase has already started. The aim is to develop centers of excellence which will provide world-class services. The project size for the 4 hospitals is approximately estimated at $168 million. In television broadcasting, a unique and exciting opportunity also exists for an investment in South Africa's second pay TV provider, aptly named Top TV, and which is owned by a consortium called On Digital Media, or ODM. This Greenfields project has been on air for over 2 years and now requires further startup capital to the value of about $60 million. This will enable plans to expand and cover the rest of the African continent. Top TV operates direct-to-home subscription broadcasting services, providing both international and local multi-channel subscription television services, which are delivered through an encrypted digital signal into the subscriber's home via a satellite dish and a digital set-top box. The ODM project creates new capacity in our economy and is contributing directly to the liberalization of the pay TV sector and leverages local and international best practice in respect of cutting-edge digital innovation. So here we're looking at getting both the equity investors and strategic equity partners who can actually come in with a lot of experience and expertise in this particular area. In infrastructure, specifically telecommunications and broadband, is a project valued at $42 million. The project aims to deploy the last mile fiber optic cables across the national landscape of South Africa. Fiber optic infrastructure that is 4 times faster at less than half the cost of normal fiber will be deployed. Licensed patented technology that uses existing sewer and other currently existing infrastructure rather than the normal method of digging up trenches to lay fiber optic cables will be utilized. An initial capital investment of 300 million rands will lead to the establishment of a South African last mile fiber optic infrastructure company that we call I3 Africa in South Africa. The project will increase broadband access, thus having a huge impact on the liberalization of broadband access in South Africa. The next two projects are in the renewables energy space. Here I do want to say there are huge investment opportunities. I will just highlight a few, but if you have some more additional ideas on some of the renewable energy investment opportunities, we would be more than happy to talk to yourselves. The first one is in the Carbochem cogeneration project. The energy project promoters distributed energy generation, secured a contract to provide steam and power to Carbochem for operational and process use at its synthetic rubber production plant in KZN in South Africa. The total project capital funding requirement is $200 million. The next one, which is again in the renewable energy space, is the Philisiwe wind farm, which will see the NEF invest about $80 million in venture capital alongside EAB New Energy of Germany in a scoping project. The deal has been structured such that the NEF will subscribe for 40% of the participation interest and Astram Energy for another 31%. The total project cost for the Philisiwe wind farm is estimated at $92 million. The next one is in the biofuels, the blue ethanol project. The NEF was approached by Lanele Resources together with Amatala Resources. The objective of the promoters is to construct a facility that will produce bioethanol from municipality solid waste found in landfills. The bioethanol produced from this facility will initially be used to produce transportation fuel, and a consideration will be made to produce high-grade ethanol for the pharmaceutical industry as well as the solvents industry. The first phase of this project will cost approximately 10 million rand. In return, the NEF will secure the 45% participation. But the total value of the project is estimated at $350 million. Another development finance institution, ladies and gentlemen, that is doing meaningful work in the area of renewable energy is the Industrial Development Corporation, which offers lucrative opportunities for potential investors in wind, solar, and hydro technologies. Because renewable energy is a strategic growth sector and a key driver for national and regional development, South Africa's projects under development in this sector are valued at over $61 billion. So we don't want the investors who are in this room to actually lose out on this exciting investment opportunity. I said $61 billion. The total investment opportunity for external investors amount to approximately $38 billion. These opportunities span venture capital, consulting services in engineering, construction and maintenance, the manufacturing of parts and components, among others. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our invitation to you to come to the land of sunshine and hope, the land of opportunity and promise, so that together we may walk Nelson Mandela's long road to freedom and prosperity for all as we industrialize South Africa and the continent of Africa. Thank you very much.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.